So I wanted to record something talking about, different aspects of the healing journey. We talk a lot about surrender, letting go, letting things be as they are, letting go of control. But, there is another element of this, and this is what I've been speaking a little bit more from recently, which is about kind of the choice of, do you really want to let go of your sickness story? Do you really want to let go of that identity, or are you using it to protect yourself from the pain, right? So the topic for this is that there is actually a big choice to make on whether you're really being honest with yourself as to whether you want to let go and make the choice of doing the difficult work, orienting towards the unknown, really. I mean, it doesn't even have to be difficult work, but, falling back into the safety net of sickness, victimhood, disempowering yourself, really, when realizing that you actually have the choice to create your own reality, in a sense. I was just having a coaching call with somebody earlier today, and this was the topic that was coming up, was, acknowledging the hurt and the pain that needs to be felt, but being radically honest with ourselves as to the fact that, what am I trying to get from somebody when I'm really emphasizing my, how shit my circumstances are. So it's like a level of maturity that comes in for ourselves, and I'm not judging anybody for that. We go through different phases on this path, but, like really emphasizing the choice fact. It can be triggering. People don't want to hear this, but I think it is, it's something I don't really want to leave out, because also, we talk about the spiritual stuff and no self and non-duality, and there can be an overemphasis on no doership, which there's truth to that, I think. I mean, I feel it sometimes that it's just not in, the small mind's not in control in the way that it thinks it is, but there is a choice, and don't be too hard on yourself about the choice. All the stuff around compassion and allowance still stands, but you just have to be fucking honest with yourself as to whether you're avoiding something. I notice this in myself when I just choose to do something, even if I'm afraid of it, even if it feels like, just for a million reasons why it's something you shouldn't do, but you choose not to do it. It's like, what space are you choosing from? Ask yourself that question. This is another thing that was coming up, I was sharing with somebody, is like, instead of letting ourselves spiral into these cycles where we find ourselves like things are going well, and then slowly we start to make little choices that are based in fear and avoiding the unknown, right? So it seems innocent, but it's addictive, right? That's fine. We'll learn our lessons, but if you want to stop playing those games where you kind of have a good period where things feel spontaneous and flowy and life's going well, and then 2 months later you're back in this kind of depressed state and you feel like you're so locked off, just start to become aware a little bit earlier. Can I be honest with myself that I'm making little decisions that are in avoidance of the unknown, right? Because we actually want to be clear with ourselves, and how do we end up in these states? And people don't like to hear this often, but if we're really honest with ourselves, and this is what is necessary if you want freedom to live spontaneous, creative, expressive life, that you are making little decisions. Like, I'm honest with myself. If I find myself looking away from life and saying, I need to have some space, that's fine. There's time for space, there's time for rest, there's time for recuperation and rejuvenation and self-care and all of that. But honestly, it can be addictive as well. So it's a balance, right? And that's the not being hard on yourself, and you're not going to get the balance right 100% of the time, but you can just, ask yourself, are these little decisions coming out of an addiction to avoiding the unknown? Because that's what it really comes down to, is living in the unknown is what we're always avoiding, but it is where the beauty of this whole mystery lies. I don't know what the fuck this is anymore, honestly. But there's no need to make that a problem. See, that's the thing, right? The mind makes it a problem to not know, whereas it can actually be the most enjoyable experience. And then at the same time, if you do find yourself in states where there's no up, there's no down, there's just nothing makes sense, then give yourself some space to surrender, to let yourself be surrendered. Because like I said in a previous video, surrender finds you. So, like the other day, I was very busy socializing, exercising, and I was just like, let me go sit on the beach for like 2 hours and just let nature help me release some stuff, because things were building up. But like in the past, I would just like go sit at home and be like, oh, I need to take a rest day. And I guess, yeah, there's space for that, right? I'm not saying don't do that, but I am saying just, check in with yourself. And just from my own experience, the perspective of choosing, like, no matter what happens, I'm never going to kind of allow myself to, slip into a victim. You choose your challenges, right? So, choose the higher path, basically. I don't know if that sounds cliche or something, but yeah, you always have that choice to, like, how can I choose the best perspective that's actually going to serve me here? So this is the thing of choice. We always have choice over perspective. And choice is always a tricky one in the spiritual world. And I've had times where I got stuck way too much in no free will, no doership, no agency. And again, I think it's true at the ultimate level, but it's not, Angelo has often said this, it's pointless as a belief. It's just something that you realize. But I think, I'm not even going to talk about that stuff, because from my perspective, living in the relative world and doing relative things, then just live as if you're making choices, and then, reflect on when you're making choices. For me, the greatest foundation to come back to is, is this a choice out of fear and avoidance, or is this a choice that leads to uncertainty and the unknown, but it's exciting, and you're not always going to get it right, so that's the key. But that's a great foundation to come back to. Is like, the mind's always like, oh, am I ready to do this, right? Like, should I go and, I don't know, your opportunities will present themselves in your life. Like, is it time for me to go on a trip with my friends, or do this thing, or do that thing? And then you ask yourself, like, am I making this choice out of a fear of the uncertainty? So am I choosing what feels like a safe option, or am I kind of going to do that which excites me, but I don't know how it's going to play out? And that's what I would recommend orienting towards. And then just know that you can be gentle with yourself as well, that when you're going through a nervous system upgrade where there's just a lot coming through, then just try to remind yourself of good ways to deal with it. This is where journaling is always nice. Just touch in with, okay, this isn't going to last forever, this challenging state, but do I know that there's little things that I can do differently that can help me through this? Maybe it's go sit in nature. Maybe it's, do some restorative practices like yoga, or whatever works for you. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what I suggest. These are ideas. For me, it's like cold water and sitting in nature and going for a walk and doing a little bit of meditation, but then also, balancing that out with allowing myself to socialize and just live in spontaneity, right? Because I've had periods where I'll just be like, I need to go deep into solitude. And, I was repressing also the part of me that likes to socialize, that likes to be a human being, that wants to just be, engaged with the world. So it all comes through phases, right? That's where there's no control. So it's paradoxical as always, but when just feel into it for yourself. If you feel absolutely like there's nothing that you know what to do, then surrender and feel into life helping you surrender. And but you can feel in for yourself. There will be options and choices, and just gamify everything. This was also what's coming up in my conversation with the coaching call today, and it's something that I've been reflecting a lot on. It's just, man, this whole fucking thing's a game, right? It's the coolest game because we believe it's so real and it's so mysterious and we don't know how it works. But there's always, it's not so serious, but it feels serious when we have repressed emotions and things we're trying to avoid. That's what makes things serious, right? It's like, I don't want to feel this, so I seriously need to get everything right to avoid that situation. Whereas when there's nothing you're afraid to feel, when every experience is on the table, then it's a game, right? Then it's like, cool, I'm going to do this. I have no idea how it's going to play out. And whatever it leads to is another experience to experience. And maybe it's got a different flavor and depth than you've ever experienced before. But it's a game, right? And the game includes everything. It includes, the part of you that thinks it's not a game and the part of you that wants to resist. But then in the game, you can decide whether you want to live from that kind of interface or the interface where you choose to live. And it's hard, but that's, I guess, what you're here for, is like, you're up for the challenge. But which part of you are you going to let kind of control the game? I don't know if that resonates, but I love to think of it like this nowadays, that, this is just the coolest fucking game around. But I'm saying this having been through absolute hell periods, right? Where I just died. Parts of me died. So let that happen, right? Let it happen. But be always open to, even in those periods, I got out of it through the choice of, I'm not going to wallow in this. There's something that wants to come through, right? There's some spark, there's some light that wants to shine through you. So let it, right? I hope this inspires you. Touch into that, right? You have something to share with the world. You do. You have a purpose. You have a gift, but not purpose in a serious sense. You have a kind of a sharing, an expression, a light to shine. And it's not in the way the mind thinks of, I need to understand my meaning and, but just touch into your authenticity more and more, and you will start to have an effect on people around you as an expression of yourself. So yeah, I hope to inspire you, and I hope that you can touch into that part of yourself, and over time you can inspire others, and we can all just become this fucking, ripple effect on each other to raise up out of, being a victim and resisting and, this small stuff. So yeah, you see it everywhere. Everything's shifting. I just see it in the movies I watch, and that people are waking up. And it's fucking cool. So hop on the train or something like that. But yeah, anyways, that's today's video, and I'm outdoors. It's really nice. That's Langebaan Beach in South Africa. So yeah, all the best.